Every time I think of reeling. Every time.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the RC vlog. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Santamaria, and today I'm going to show you guys my actual race radio. All right, so I actually have all my race radios that I've ever had, so I'll be able to give you a full timeline on all my race radios, and I'll tell you exactly what I think about all of them and what I think about race radios in general, because obviously the radio is one of the most important things you could possibly buy for your RC racing, and there's a lot of opinions out there. So let's start with my very first race radio, which was the Spectrum DX3R. This is the original case I bought with it, and the original DX3R. I haven't broken it. I mean, I have never had problems with this radio. Look at this thing. So this is the original DX3R, but I put the DX3R Pro drop down because I thought it was really cool, and you can tell which one a DX3R is because this is black instead of silver around the edge. But I bought this when the DX3R first came out, and like Spectrum was cutting edge, like 2.4. It was super cool. Like right when, I think at the time Airtronics only had FM, so Spectrum was a big deal. And I bought this when I first started racing 10 scale. This was the very first race radio I ever bought. So at the time, I didn't have any sponsorships. It was like $300. This was a big jump for me, but I used this for so many freaking seasons. It was unreal. I've never had any problems with it. I actually bought, I had it so long, the DX3R Pro came out. I bought the DX3R Pro, and it's actually sitting up in my closet right now, brand new in the box. I bought it when it first came out, and I never touched it. I had no reason to switch to the DX3R Pro. It wasn't any faster. I mean, the technology was almost the same. The only difference between the DX3R and the DX3R Pro to me was the screen had, it was a backlit screen. But man, this thing held all my older RC cars are still in this radio. I still use this radio, and again, I've never had any problems with it. So this was the very first radio I had. The frame rate, I think it's 5.5. It had a 5.5 frame rate, and what that means to normal people is it responded a lot quicker. And honestly, people knocked the radio really bad. Like they say it wasn't very good because it had a lot of problems, but there's a lot of good things about Spectrum. One, the receivers are super cheap now, and you can buy knockoff receivers. Like this is a knockoff receiver I bought from Hobby King, which they're not as good or dependable. Like they have problems, but they work. So if you have a whole bunch of hobby cars like I do and not just racing, it was a really good radio for me. But so this was the very first radio I had, and then the DX3R Pro came out. I bought the DX3R Pro, never used it because I never had a reason to use it. And then this radio came out. This is the Spectrum DX4R Pro, I think. DX4R. So the DX4R almost looks the same as a DX3R, except, I mean, they really look the same. I guess the antenna's a little different, but this one had a different technology called DSM2. So the Spectrum technology that they used to bind between the receiver and the remote was called DSM. That's what was the 5.5 frame rate that was supposed to be super awesome. This had DSM2. So when I heard that it had DSM2, this one has the backlit screen. When I heard that it had DSM2, I felt like I had to step up. And I mean, I had this radio seriously for probably like 5 or 6 seasons. It was time to actually get a radio that I was going to upgrade. So it was tough for me to move from this radio. And I've had a lot of success with the DX3R up to this one, but it wasn't a dramatic change for me, which I put the Dynamite steering wheel. So I like the really large steering wheels. A lot of people like the really small steering wheels. With the really small steering wheels, you have a little bit more sensitivity. The bigger steering wheels are a little bit more forgiving. I'm just used to the bigger steering wheel, but this is also an easy transition because it was basically the same thing. The receivers were a little bit different. They were supposed to be faster. I don't even know if they were supposed to be faster, to be honest. But they had DSM2 receivers. It could have been just complete marketing technique that worked on me, but yeah. So when I moved on to this, it was easy because I could bind all my old receivers up to this, and then I had this newer technology, so it was really cool. And it's got this cool little light there. The antennas were bad on this thing. Like, people would break antennas. You could buy this really small antenna. What I will say about Spectrum radios is the range isn't as good as you'd think it would be. And what I mean by that is because I have a lot of hobby cars, and I'm like not racing, but driving in parking lots, going down the street really far. It didn't work as far as like the old school FM radios. I didn't. It was far enough, like you would go as far as you could see, but it wasn't like, I was hoping it would be like super high frequency where I could go super far, but it wasn't the case. But this was the second radio I ever started using racing, and I was very happy with this radio. But they finally got up to me. The Joneses finally got to me. All the other pros that I was racing with, at this time I was racing at not a pro level, but a higher level. I started making friends with more of the big time pros, and I finally got heckled enough to get rid of Spectrum because for some reason, which I don't know why, Spectrum had a bad rep. I guess they maybe released some bad Spectrum radios. I never had any problems with mine. But I don't know. I finally got heckled enough, and I finally got peer pressured into getting, when at the time was the best radio, which this was probably like a year and a half ago. I picked up this radio. This is my current race radio. It's what I use to race all my stuff, which is the M11S. Airtronics, or now it's called Sanwa. It used to be Airtronics. Airtronics sold, or went, I don't know, they went bankrupt or sold or something, but now it's Sanwa. But it's this is the M12S. Now they have it, so there's an M12, they have an M12. You know what? I gotta make sure it's an M12. I'm pretty sure it's an M12. So I don't. You know what? I could probably just turn it on. I don't have the. Yeah, M12S. I was about to Google it. I was about to hit the Googler. But they have an M11, which the M11 had the big screen. They had the M12, which M12 looks just like this. You can't even tell the difference. Then they have the M12S, which is like their top notch one. And now they've recently released the M12RS, which looks just like the M12S, has the same specs as M12S, but it has a couple of missing features. And when I say a couple of missing features that you probably never use, the M12S has a blue backlit screen. I think the M12RS only comes in white. I can actually change the color of my backlit screen, but I finally got suckered into buying this thing because I felt like I had to keep up with the Joneses. And although I like it, I think it gives me a lot of confidence. I mean, I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for saying this, but I really couldn't tell the difference. It felt different, but I didn't see like my results like increase, or I didn't feel like I was more connected to the car. I felt connected to the car with the other radio. I don't know. I'm just being honest, guys, and I know a whole bunch of people are gonna get on to me and be like, "Oh, it's way better," but they're honestly probably just trying to sell what they already have. It's a great radio, but I don't think it's worth. This radio is like $100 or like $400 something dollars, so I don't think it's worth upgrading if you're just like a sporadic racer. You're not going full-time pro. But I can tell you what sucks about this radio is the receivers are crazy expensive. You can't get cheap receivers. What's funny is I actually bought this radio, and this is something else that people, especially local guys, are going to heckle me about. I actually bought this radio from Japan. You can actually go to this place called Futaba Pro Shop. I'm just going to leave it at that. Buy it from your local hobby shop. But receivers are super expensive, so I don't have as many receivers. And one thing I do like about it, which a lot of people don't use, is the telemetry function is built into the receivers. So I can actually go and see, which I don't have anything hooked up to it, but I can go and see the voltage of my receiver pack and see the voltage that my ESC or my BEC is sending to my receiver. So that's kind of cool. But other than that, Oh, this is one thing that's a big win on the Sanwa, is they have like these little, basically like spacers, not really spacers, but you can set the trigger where it's like perfectly fit to your finger. So there's not much play, so your brake and throttle is really sensitive, which I love that. And I also like how they have a drop down and a drop forward, so it's a little bit more comfortable. A little top heavy, but I had a really hard time choosing between this radio and the Futaba. I think it's the 7PX right now. Futaba, I've driven with the Futaba radio. It's a great radio too. I don't. I think what happened was, at the time when I was trying to make a decision on which one I wanted, the 7PX wasn't out yet, so it was the 4PX. I don't know the Futaba ones, but the latest and greatest one. I didn't want to get it and then know that I was a generation back, which now they have a new Sanwa, which I haven't used yet. But at the time, I was asking my friends which one I should get, and I was asking guys like Joe Bornhorst, Tyler Keel. I think I asked Colt Ogden. But all these guys at the time were using this radio. Obviously, if I ask those guys are sponsored by Sanwa, they're going to say Sanwa. But it was the radio to get at the time, and I got it. But although I like it and it's awesome, I don't think I really needed it. I probably could have got away with the Spectrum still. But when you're racing, not exactly at the level, but with the guys that I'm racing with, and I'm, with the podcast, I'm trying to keep up to date. I had to keep up with the Joneses, so. This is my race radio. I didn't do anything to it. I got a wrap for it, which the wrap kind of sucked because there's so many different angles, and it didn't go. I mean, it's not the person who made the wrap, which I think this one came from Upgrade RC. It's not their problem. It was just really hard to put the wrap on. It looks kind of cool, but this is it. The Sanwa M12S. That is my race radio. So I hope you guys enjoyed my journey through different race radios. At the end of the day, go with the radio that you're most comfortable with. And I can tell you right now, just the most expensive radio isn't the best radio. I know a lot of people that use the MTS, which is a cheaper $200 version of this radio, super successful with it. I don't have an advantage over them because I'm using this one. I mean, you can get a good $200 radio. Every high-end surface radio company out there has a $200 to $300 option that you can get away with that has the same speed, same technology. It's just not their latest and greatest. And unfortunately, I'm the guy who feels like they have to get the latest and greatest. So I have this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I hope you guys felt it was useful. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. I don't usually say this, but turn on that notification bell because I've been releasing video still 2 to 3 times a week. And thanks for watching. Y'all will see me next time. Later, guys.